Hi, I'm Darnell with Wave Oven Recipes, and this is my review of the NuWave Bravo toaster oven and air fryer. So let's go ahead and get this unboxed. So we have everything unboxed, and so let me show you all the accessories that come with it. First, there's the paperwork. You get a manual. You get some warnings, I guess, from their legal department or what have you. It's got like a quick start guide, and also has this recipe book here that looks pretty nice. It's got all these nice recipes, all these color pictures of things you can make with your NuWave Bravo, and it goes for, let's see, the actual recipes go up until page 115. So 115 pages of recipes, but they say that there's 65. So, you know, there's lots of pictures and things. So 65 recipes, and, you know, it's a pretty nice layout for a recipe book. So that's pretty good. Now, inside there's I do want to show inside there's a slide out crumb tray. So you have that inside of there. So let's see if I can get that slid back in. And then you have, basically, this is a wire rack that you basically would put things on, or you could put things like toast directly on it if you want. And then they have like a little like baking rack that you could put inside the bake pan, kind of like that. And I guess you could, if you wanted to air fry like that, you could do that also. And then it has an air fry basket, which is really what is intended for your air frying. And you put your air fry basket in here. Well, it doesn't really fit snug in here perfectly. It kind of is raised off, but you could kind of do like that as well if you wanted to do that also. Or if you don't think you're going to have drippings, you could have just your basket and have that on your larger wire rack to do your air frying either way. I'm going to show you the power cord. It's got a pretty nice length cord here. It's a 2-prong polarized cord. It is an 1800 watt cooker, so it's pretty interesting, that high of a wattage, and it's only a 2-prong polarized. But you know, some people like that, some people don't. Anyway, higher end on the power wattage, and so that's pretty good that it's a higher wattage cooker. For this smaller form factor, for this one, this is not like the XL that I did a review of some years back. This is a smaller model. At 1800 watts, it should really do some good work. I'm expecting good things out of this at 1800 watts with this small form factor, but we'll see in the testing. Now, they do mention that if you register with them on their website, the warranty, they'll give you an extra 3 months of warranty, and we'll get into more of the warranty details later. But I think a lot of these companies just want to try and give you a perk, because information is very valuable if you didn't know. And so these companies will do a lot to try and get your information. So moving on, we'll get into the dimensions of this cooker. And the dimensions are 15.9 inches in length, 19.1 inches in width, that's pretty interesting, and 11.5 inches in height. But it's a 0.7 cubic foot cooker inside, and they say that that's large enough to hold a 4-pound chicken. We'll check with a 5-pound chicken and see if even that'll fit. That'll be in some later testing as well. The temperature ranges for this cooker, they say, are between 50 degrees Fahrenheit to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Of course, that is going to depend on your functions and such. The time ranges for this cooker can go up to 99 hours and 99 minutes. The limits are based on the temperature range that you select. And so I'll basically put on the screen the different temperature ranges and times for the temperature ranges that they say you get a certain degree of time for. So now I'm going to basically give you a look around the cooker. So let me just kind of lift it up and let you see. See, there's some air vents on top. On the side, you got some air vents there. You got some more air vents on that side. Now when we spin it around to the back, you see that's what you're getting back, a little hump back there and some little plastic guards there. So that's a look all the way around it. So now I'm giving you a closer up look at the cooker, and you can see here it's got basically the spinning knob here that also presses in for your start and pause. We'll go over all these buttons later, but you got some buttons up there and you got your display. We'll light that up later. I'm going to show you inside of the cooker. Inside you've got two shelf levels, basically two rack holder levels, but I'm going to show you how they basically interpret that to be 4 rack levels in a little bit. Now down bottom we've got 2 heating elements. On the side here we've got the air fry fan over there on the side. Sorry, my hand was in the way. But you got your air fry fan over there on the side. I'm not seeing any ambient probe and I'm not seeing any light either. But up top you have 2 more heating elements, 1, 2. So you have 4 heating elements, 2 on top, 2 on bottom, and you have a side air fry fan. Now I want to show you as far as this thing about them saying that you have 4 rack levels even though the rack holder only has 2 levels on it. Basically what they say in their way of doing things is, like if you have this wire rack with it kind of setting in the lower type of position, that's like level 1. So that's level 1 with it kind of setting low. Then they say you can flip it. So you flip it over, and when you flip it, it's a little higher. So they say that's level 2. Then you can flip it back to the lower position. So, sorry about that clanging and banging there. But you can set it to that lower level. That lower setting again, put it on the high level. They say, well, that's level 3. Then you can pull it out, you can spin it, put it at its higher setting. And they say this is for dehydration purposes. You can put it up like that, and that's level 4. So that's how they see that you get 4 rack levels. So basically this wire rack is the only thing that goes the full length of the inside of the cooker. So you can basically, you got to work with whatever you can put on this wire rack. It's not like you can have things setting on, sorry about that noise, but it's not like you can have things setting on 2 rack levels at once, because you've only got 1 rack that they give you that can go the full length of the interior on the rack holder. So you basically use this with the other accessories to get your cooking done. So now we have the NuWave Bravo next to the Gourmet French door digital air fryer oven, and I'm going to just basically show you like the rack size for the NuWave versus the rack size for the Gourmet. You can see they're fairly similar in size, the 2 racks there. And we'll try and compare some of the other accessories as well. This is the bake pan for the Gourmet. Of course mine is a bit used, but no worse for wear. This is the NuWave. The NuWave kind of fits in there, but when you consider, this is going the length of the inside of the cooker, or the width, I should say, of the inside of the cooker. This is okay. That's okay. Then we have the air fry basket for Gourmet. Sorry about some of that banging there. The air fry basket is much larger than the air fry basket for the NuWave Bravo. NuWave Bravo air fry basket not only fits in the Gourmet, you can slide it around and play around with it. So that's just to give you an idea of things there. Going to do some measurements now. So I'm going to measure, I'm going to do front to back to the handle. Basically, if it's got any hump, I'll include that as well. It's got a small hump in the Gourmet. Going up to the handle is about 15 inches. Now with the NuWave, front to back, it's got this little hump. We've got about 15 inches there with the NuWave, so about equal there. Doing side to side with the Gourmet, we've got 17, just about 17 inches there. with the NuWave, I'm going to do it this way. We've got about 17, let's see, 17 and a half. Say about 17 and a half inches there. Now when we do height, you see the Gourmia is a little larger. The Gourmia is just over 11 inches, maybe 11 and a quarter, whereas the NuWave is 9 and maybe 3/4 inches. So a little difference there. You go inside, you see difference on the interior. The inside space, top to bottom, is about maybe 8 3/4 inches on the Gourmia. For the NuWave, inside, top to bottom, is not even 7 inches. I mean, that's like maybe, I mean, it's like barely 7. I guess you could give it 7, but at any rate, less. Now, if we go, let's see, this way into the back, front to back here, we've got 13 inches on the Gourmia. So now we'll take a look at the NuWave. Guess I'll just put it on top of the rack here. We've got about 12 to 12 and a half, somewhere about 12 to 12 and a half inches there. So the Gourmia definitely has more room overall to fit things in than the NuWave. But with that NuWave having 1800 watts, I mean, it better do some hot stuff burning when it comes to cooking things up, that's for sure. I also need to do the interior side to side inside here. So interior here like this, we've got just over 12 inches on the Gourmia, just over 12. Not quite 12 and a half, but just over 12. With the NuWave, doing the same thing. We've got, let's see, get it right there. Interesting. We've got about 13 inches there with the NuWave Bravo. So the NuWave Bravo going this way has a little more room. And so I'm going to put this rack into a lower position. And I've got a 13-inch bake pan here with no handles. And we'll see if that fits into the NuWave. Nope. Does not fit inside. I think the lower bottom part of it does. Like the lower bottom part of this does. I think if my, well no, because then you've got the rack holders in the way. So even if this was a perfect just 13 inches on the bottom and I tried to get it in, it would still hit the rack holder. So can't fit it in here either. Can't fit it in there. You can't get a 13-inch bake pan inside a NuWave Bravo, but close. Close. But close is not good enough, of course. So now we've got the NuWave Bravo toaster oven air fryer next to the Ninja Foodie XL Pro air fry oven. And we see that the Ninja is just totally bigger, totally dwarfs this smaller NuWave Bravo. And I've basically done measurements of this before, and it's so much bigger. I'm not even going to get into trying to measure this versus that. I mean, it's just no contest. And we know with the NuWave, you can get a 13-inch bake pan inside of it. So the Ninja is just way bigger there. So nothing more that I can say for that. So now I'm going to test putting a 5-pound chicken into the cooker. This is a frozen chicken, 5-pound, and so I'm not going to be cooking it in this video, but just going to see, even though the limit is 4 pounds, what would happen if you try and put a 5-pound. I've got the rack on the lowest level with the bake pan. You cannot get it in there. I mean, it's just not going to work. Even if I drop it on the bake pan, I mean, it's not going to do. And I think this means even if you use a 4-pound chicken, sorry about some of that noise, but even if you use a 4-pound chicken, I think it's going to be a little tight. So now I'm going to do an initial plug-in of the cooker. So just going to get it plugged on in. So there we go with the plug-in. It did like a quick blue flash, and that was it. I guess to really light it up, you got to turn things on. And so I hope that my light's not drowning things out. I don't think that it's drowning things out for you there because it's kind of got a black, mostly black display with the blue, so I think that's going to be okay for keeping the light on for you. But I'm going to go over what different buttons do on the cooker. I'll go through each function in the function setup later, but for now we're just going to go through what each button does. You've got your, as I mentioned, the spinning start pause button, and you can hit menu, and then you can use that to select different menu options, and then you could just like press in to confirm the option that you're going to use for, you know, your different settings there. So you could go over to, like, let's say toast, and that's function 11, and you go into toast. Well, I guess it started, so let me just turn it off. And I guess once you turn it off, now the fan's running. So I guess the fan runs for a little bit after any cook, and you just let it run. You know, the fan will run for a while and just leave it alone. It'll eventually turn off on its own. But we've got the on-off button that we've been using. We've got the menu button we've been using. And I'm going to turn it back on. We've got the temp button, so like if you were on, let's say we go down to bake again, and we lock in bake, and then we wanted to select the temperature, we could select the temperature, and I think just hitting the start button, I think that may be, now it turned itself off. How about that? So let's go back to bake, make sure we're on bake again. So we're on bake, and then I think to do your time and temp, you just hit your time, your temp and your time. You don't want to, if you press the button, it's going to probably just start cooking. So, because that's the start button. So don't press in until you're ready to start cooking. Just hit temp after you get your menu item, and then you can adjust your temp. And then you hit time, and you can adjust your time. So you go menu, select your option, then hit your temp, then do your time, adjust your time, and then you can press in and do start. So we've got all those covered. Now we've got a fan button. We can basically have an adjustable fan, and it can do a few fan levels and off. So basically 4 different settings, because you got low, medium, high, fan, and off. So I do fan, it's got fan 1, fan 0 is off, fan 3, that's high, fan 2 is medium. So you can do different fan level settings for your different cooks. Something else I wanted to mention, if you hold the start pause button, I'm going to turn it off, turn it back on. If I hold the start pause button in for like a second or two, I think that kills the audio. So like now I'm hitting buttons and there's no audio. So let's see. I guess I'll just leave the audio off. It'd be cool just to not have the audio. But the warm button, you can basically select warm and it'll default to 140. But if you, let's say I was on a different option, like I was on air fry or something. Yeah, so I'm on air fry. And I'll just hit temp, so like I'm in air fry. But then I want to just, instead, just really start up warm real quick. Start up warm real quick. You just hold warm and bang, warm starts. It's already on 140, always defaults to 140, it does it for an hour. And that's how you can do automatic, just starting up warming. And you can hit pause to pause. And so I'm just turning it off, turn it back on. Now we've got the top bottom button. I want to show you how to use that, because you can adjust the degree of how much the top and bottom heating elements are involved in a cook. So maybe you want more top heating, maybe you want less, maybe you want more bottom heating, maybe you want less. But we're here in bake, and so I've got like 350, 25 minutes, okay. But then I hit the top bottom button. Top is at 100%. Let's say I want to lower top to 70%. I can lower top to 70%. Or I could go lower. I could go all the way down to 0 with top, so that there's no top burner running in bake mode. Same thing with bottom. On bottom, I can adjust that so that top and bottom, you can adjust if you want to adjust. If you think the top cooks too hot, you can adjust the top down. You think the bottom cooks too hot, same thing there. Now I'm going to do a temperature test. I've got the iGrill 2 temperature probe in. I've got the rack turned upwards so it's in like its level 2 position. which puts it right in line with the bulk of the air fry fan. So I'm going to close things on up, turn the cooker on. I'm going to go on down to air fry. Well, first I got to do menu, and it's already on air fry. So for temp, I'm going to run it up to the max of 450 there. For time, I'm going to push the time out 30 minutes. I don't think I'm going to be doing this for the full 30, but just going to let it run from there. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And so it basically just starts running. It's not showing that it's doing any type of a preheat. It just goes right into it. So I'm just going to let this run for a while. Alright, things have been running for 10 minutes, and we see that the temperature is up to 469 degrees. So it goes well above the 450 that the cooker is intended to reach. I'm going to let it run for maybe another 5 minutes. We'll see if it can regulate down a little bit, or where things kind of even out at, or if it'll stay around that 469 range. And while it's still running, I'm going to just, I don't even want to put my hand on here. I mean, I can feel the heat coming up off that thing. I don't want to touch that. Here, same, I don't want to touch that. Over here on the side, it's a little hot. It's a little hot on that side. Over on this other side, it's pretty cool over here. Pretty cool on this side where the fan is. In the back, it's pretty hot in the back. So generally speaking, I'll say generally overall the cooker's pretty hot on the outside. Down here on the bottom, I'm able to keep my hand down there, not burning there. I'm going to let things go for about another 4 minutes now, and we'll see what happens. But it was starting to teeter down to 465. Yeah, now it's down to 465. We'll let it go for a little bit longer. So it's been running for 15 minutes now. Temperature's at 465, so I believe that's basically where 450 is going to end up at, about 465. And so now I'm going to try and do some other things with the cooker while it's running. I'm going to just see if I can adjust temp on the fly. It looks like I can. If I adjust time, let's say I adjust time up to 25 minutes on the fly. Looks like it is going to let me do that. It's got the time locked in, it's got the temp locked in. I can change the temp back up. The time is doing its countdown, so that works. If I open the door, it doesn't auto pause when opening the door, but if you hit that pause button, then it tells you that, you know, it's basically in pause mode. And then when you hit start again in the fan and all, it kicks up. It seems like even though I hit pause, I don't hear any change in the fan, but it's basically doing its pause when you hit pause. But the door doesn't cause any auto pause when you open the door. And so basically we're going to go ahead and end things at that point. And so you've got a good idea of temperature. And I just want to show you something. I've kept the cooker plugged in, even though I turned it off. When I turn it back on and I go to air fry and I hit temp for air fry, it has lost the 450 that I had locked in before. It's lost the time setting that I had locked in before. So the cooker has no memory at all. There's no need testing if I unplug what's going to happen. There's no memory. Once you do a cook and you turn things off, you're done. You're going to have to put the same time and temp in every time if you cook the same thing in this cooker every time. So that's just something to keep in mind. No memory at all. So I've just been letting things basically heat in there at 450 for about 20 minutes just to burn off residue of anything from the shipping or manufacturing processes, which is a good idea to do with any new cooker. As far as that stuff that burns off, they claim that it's safe, but you know, I can't say that I'm an independent lab to test that stuff. I'm not so sure, but it is what it is as far as these types of cookers go. I wanted to take some time to go over each individual function of the cooker so that you have an idea of what each function does and the capabilities of them. So we're going to start with air fry. Now with air fry, the heat source is the top and the bottom at 100%. You want to have the rack position in what would be rack position number 2, where you turn it up on that lower level, you flip it upward. The next function we're going to talk about is the bagel function. With bagel, the heat source is the top and bottom heating elements, both at 100%. You again are going to use rack position number 2. For bake, you are going to have the heat source again be the top and bottom at 100%. You can use rack position 1, 2, or 3 with bake, just depending on the size and what you're cooking. Next, we'll talk about the broil function. With broil, the heating source is just the top, 100%, 0 from the bottom, and you use rack position number 3. That's where you have the rack up higher, but you have it kind of turned downward. Next, we have the dehydrate function. With dehydrate, the heat source is the top and bottom at 100%. You can use rack position 1, 2, 3, or 4. And you may need to rotate the rack during that time. They make sure to mention. Next, we have a frozen option when you're cooking things from frozen. I guess you could defrost things from frozen. And with that, the heat source is top and bottom. You can use rack position 1, 2, and 3, and you may need to rotate. So if you're cooking from frozen, you can use that. Next, we have a grill function. With grill, the heat source is just the bottom. The top is at 0, the bottom's at 100%. And you would use rack position 1, which is how the rack is now turned downward on the lower rack level, so that you get the full benefit of the grill function. Next is the pizza function, and with pizza the heat source is top and bottom at 100%. You would use rack position 1 to have things down low there. Next we have a reheat function. With reheat, the heat source is top and bottom at 100%. You can use rack position 1, 2, or 3 with reheat. Next we have a roast function. With roast, the heat source is the top and the bottom, both at 100%, and the rack position you would want to use for roast are 1 or 2. And we're going to go on down to toast now. And with toast, you're going to have top and bottom heating at 100%, rack position 2. Interesting thing is, no matter what function you pick, you can go in and, let's say, even on toast, I've got it at 450, well, it defaults to 450, and for time, I can just keep on like spinning for like, I guess that's like an hour. So I can do like up to an hour on toast. That's a pretty long time on toast. But the limits vary based on the function, but they give you way more than you need basically for different functions. I'm going to just show you for roast. If we do time for roast, we can just go up, let's see, and I'm just spinning away. You know, we're up at like 24 hours. You go up 24 hours for a roast, so some pretty wide-ranging limits there, and that's actually a good thing, I mean, if you know what you're doing. Next is the waffle function, and with the waffle function, you again get top and bottom heating at 100%. You would use rack level 3 for waffle, and I believe that this, given the default temp and time, this is considering frozen waffles. This isn't considering my homemade waffles that I use a silicone waffle tray for. So that's basically just a summation of all of the functions and where you put your rack and such, and the heating that you would get. So now we're going to try a toast test. I've got a couple slices of my almond flour whole wheat bread here, and I'm going to put those, I've got things on rack level 2, which you're supposed to use for toast. We're going to see how this toast cooks up. This toast has, well, this bread has not been in the refrigerator, so it's at room temperature to start out. But getting the cooker turned on, and actually I'm going to hit menu and go back to toast here. So I'm going to leave it at toast. I'm going to use the defaults of 450 for 6 minutes. And I think I accidentally upped the time to 7 minutes, so I just lowered it down to 6 minutes. So 456 minutes, we'll see what it does with that bread. So we've let the bread go for the full 6 minutes, so let's see what we get out of here. Alright, so we see that the bread has cooked, and it's like it got more cooking in here and in here than on some of the other outer areas. So although almond flour whole wheat bread may at times take a little more to cook than white bread, we still see that the cooker doesn't do a very even job on the toast. So it can do toast, but not very evenly. I know that some of you probably want to see the back. Didn't really do much of a job on the back. And the other one, not much on the back of that. So I'd say a less than stellar job on the toast. So now we're going to do a bake test. I put together some almond flour cookie dough, and I added a bit of ginger to it just to give them a little of a ginger kick. But I've got the ingredients list on the screen for you if you wanted to do these yourself. So I'm basically just taking and scooping out 12 cookies and setting them on the bake pan. I have sprayed this bake pan well with some sprayable extra light olive oil. I've got the rack, the wire rack in there still on rack level 2, and I'll be just baking things at 350 probably for, I'm going to set it for 20 minutes. I don't know if it'll need more or less. I mean, it's a cool cooker right now, and the cooker, as far as I know, has no preheat, so I don't think that the bake is going to go through any type of preheat cycle before it starts actually cooking. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish getting my cookies laid out. Alright, so I've got my cookies laid out, and so I'm going to go ahead and put things in the cooker here. And we'll close up. And I'm going to set the cooker over to the bake. And so for temperature, we'll leave it at 350. For time, I'm going to bring it down to 20. If it needs more time, then I'll bump it up. But I'm going to go ahead and hit start with that. I'm going to let things run, and I'll bring you on back in a bit. So things have been going for 15 minutes. I just want to basically give things a feel. So I hit the pause. The fan did stop there when I hit the pause. And just going to feel things. Things feel a little mushy, just a little. So closing up. I may just let it go ahead and finish out that 5 minutes. So 20 minutes, no preheat. We'll see what we get. Got 4 minutes left. So I've let things cook for the full 20 minutes, and we'll see what we have in there now. But I think it's pretty cool that with no preheat, the cooker was able to get going with this bake pretty quick. And I think things got, you know, a little cooked on the tops there, but still all the same, not bad. Things feel okay. They don't feel, yeah, they feel like, you know, nice little sponginess there. Well, kind of a feedback type sponge, not like a soft moist sponge like earlier. Like if they feel like a soft moist sponge, you don't want to pull them out. You want to, you let them stay in there. But if they feel like kind of like a dry sponge, or, you know, you're getting a little spongy feedback, but it's not feeling real moist, you're good to go. So I think they were good. And so the cooker was able to do some pretty good work. I think that 1800 watts is working out. I'm trying to carefully get these off. Looks like that one there stuck. Let's show you the back. That's the back side one. Let me get another one out. Show you another one. So you see that side, and then you see the back side looks decent. So it looks like they came out okay. I'm just going to finish getting the rest of these off and getting them plated. So the cookies are all done. Just going to let them cool down just a little bit before I just bite into one. So now I'm going to do a quick taste of one of these cookies. Going to grab a big one here. They're still pretty warm, so thank God for the cookie. and tastes pretty good. So they turned out well, and this cooker can bake, and it doesn't need a preheat. So for an air fry test, I've got myself some frozen chicken tenderloins here that I'm covering in some extra light olive oil that has a higher smoke point, so that Lord willing we won't get any smoke issues. After I get them coated well with the oil, I'm going to sprinkle on some of this lemon pepper seasoning, and so I'm just going to go ahead and finish that up. So I've got things seasoned up. One dilemma with this air fry basket is that it doesn't fit very flush in the bake pan. I could have used the other rack that I've shown could be used, but I wanted to try these with the air fry basket, so it's a little uneven. And I was trying to put them on level 2 because you're supposed to use level 2 for air fry, but that is not going to work with the air fry basket in the bake pan like this. So you may want to use the other rack. It's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and turn the cooker on, well, off and then on. And let's hit menu, make sure we're on air fry. Temperature up to 400. Cooking time, I'm going to do 20 minutes and hit start there. And let those run. Due to all the issues and hassle with the basket and all, I'm not going to flip them. I'm just going to let them cook and we'll see what we get. Alright, so things have been going for about 20 minutes. I guess I could have used the frozen function to try cooking these that way, but air fry should be able to have done the trick. So I'm going to go ahead in here now and just going to use the thermopin. Yeah, we're at 165 there. We're hot there. Yeah, everything is hot, and that thermopin is sensitive enough to not have to go in deep and give me an accurate read. So going to go ahead now and just try and get them out of the air fry basket onto my plate. I do want to mention while I'm getting the last couple out that there was absolutely no smoke during this cook, no smoke issues at all. And so I'm definitely happy about that. You who remember the old NuWave Bravo XL days know that there was often smoke with cooks, and that was a problem. So these are out. Going to give them about 5 minutes to rest. Alright, so gave the chicken tenderloins a little time to rest. Just going to go ahead and thank God for and taste this one here. You can see the back sides, the top sides. Of course the top got a little more of the sear from the seasoning than the bottom that didn't get flipped over, but if you want to deal with the flipping, that's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and do a taste. Okay, tastes moist and juicy. If you did want to get like a crisp on both sides of things, then you would have to do the flip. But all the same, these turned out good, and no preheating or anything. It's pretty decent. Now I want to talk about cleaning the cooker. Basically with cleaning, you're going to use a warm soapy rag to wipe everything down, and then you can use like a wet one to just kind of remove the excess. All the removable parts, they say, are top rack dishwasher safe. I personally only put the air fry basket into my dishwasher. The rest of everything I just basically wash by hand, soak things if they need to be soaked. So that's how you can clean the cooker up. So let's talk about the warranty. The cooker comes with a 1-year limited warranty, and so, you know, if you have issues or whatever, contact NuWave, see what they can do for you. That's best I can say on that. Now I do want to mention that nothing in this video is sponsored. In the video descriptions there are lots of ways to help the channel, such as my cookbook, donations, merch, memberships, all that good stuff. Referral link also, so that if you want to get the cooker yourself, you can get it. and you basically pay the same price but help the channel. And so all of that, helps out, and it's all very much appreciated. Now, with all of that said, if you did like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, share the video with a friend, leave your comments, subscribe, hit that notification icon, and good eating.